Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while, it's been 2 years at least. Last time you guys saw me, I had a 2001 Integra Type R, which I did a few mods to. I ended up getting rid of that car, and between then and now, I've had a 2001 S2000, which I also got rid of after I crashed it due to a red light runner. That's a story for another time, but I just want to introduce myself back to the channel, give you guys an update on what's been going on. I ended up picking up a 2007 Civic Si, and I just want to start this channel back up to document the build. I think I'm going to try to do a lot of things myself. I picked up this motor. It's a new JDM K24A. It's an RBB2. You guys can see on the head casting there. It's an RBB2, so I think the only difference between the RBB2 and the RBB3 head is that just the production year, but it should have the 3-lobe VTEC cam, which I'm hoping to sell off because I actually have a set of Drag Cartel 2.2s I'm going to be throwing in the car. So I'm just moving some parts around here. I want to show you guys some of the goodies I have. So I'm going really in-depth with this build. I'm going to try to document every part of it so that if I ever end up selling the car, then the next owner will know what's gone into it. As you can see here, I've got some Drag Cartel 2.2 cams, unopened, brand new. We've got the whole SuperTech valve train, springs, the keepers, all that good stuff. Over here, I've got an ACT lightweight clutch, 8.5 pounds. Exity stage 1. This was highly recommended by a lot of people, this clutch, because it feels like OEM, but it also holds a lot more power. And so back to the motor. I bought this from 1320 Performance over in Elk Grove, Northern California. I don't know where any of my viewers are from, but I'm from the NorCal Bay Area, just a little bit north of San Francisco. And yeah, so that's where I got the motor. It looks pretty clean on the outside. It was advertised to have only about 50,000 miles on it. They said that the owner of the shop compression tested it, but they didn't have numbers on hand. I haven't compression tested it myself yet because I don't have a starter, a working starter. So I'm waiting on one of those. Hopefully I can get a compression tested before the 30-day warranty is up. But I'm thinking it's a good motor, so I might just send it, throw all the parts on. I also have for this car a Type S oil pump from an RSX Type S, brand new. And I have all the chains to go with that. This will be pretty much my first motor build that I'll be doing myself. Last time I had a motor built was for the Integra Type R 2 years ago, and I had Hybrid Works put together that motor for me. So I know absolutely nothing about building motors, nothing at all. The most I've done to a car is bolt-on coilovers, cold air intake, shit like that. You know, so I'm really trying to up my game here and maybe learn a few things along the way. So this will be the first motor swap that I'll be doing on my own. And I've heard that K-series are pretty easy, pretty simple to understand. So hopefully that runs true because I have no idea what I'm doing. And all my information, all my instruction is going to be off of YouTube. So the first thing that I'm going to do with this motor is I'm going to get it cleaned up. I haven't touched it at all besides taking off the exhaust manifold and the intake manifold. That's the only thing I've done to this motor so far. I checked the spark plugs and they all look pretty good. They're not fouled up, no deposits or anything. Inside, the valves look pretty clean. There's also not too much gunk built up. I'll see if I can show you guys here. I'm not sure if you can see that. I gotta get a better camera setup. I'm just filming with my phone right now. Yeah, but hopefully, once I get a better filming setup, I'll be able to put out some high quality content for you guys. Maybe show you guys a thing or two if you're just starting out like I am. And if you guys have any suggestions, of course, go ahead and comment down below. Let me know what I'm doing wrong, because I'm sure there's a lot that I'm going to be doing wrong. So hopefully you guys will stick around for the build. I'm hoping to make at least 250 wheel horsepower, which should be easily achievable with the stock K24 bottom block, some upgraded cams, upgraded fuel oil pump. I'm not sure whether or not I should do fuel as well. I know a lot of people run the RDX injectors for a little bit more fueling and better atomization. But I'm a broke boy, so not sure if I can afford the injectors just yet. I might upgrade that later down the line, which should be an easy drop in. But yeah, so let's get to it. Before I get started cleaning it up, here's a little before, so I can show you how dirty the motor is. Or maybe how clean it is. It's actually not that bad. Again, it was advertised to only have 50,000 miles on it, so. And what I'm using to clean it is LA's Totally Awesome degreaser. It's concentrated. But I'm just gonna spray it right on there, start wiping shit off. If I can find out how to speed up video, I'm gonna do that, because I'm sure you guys don't want to watch me wipe down this motor for the next hour or so. Pretty caked on. So what I learned recently is that people in Japan, since this motor is a JDM motor, they don't drive their cars much. They usually take a lot of public transportation, like trains or walking, biking. Their cars mostly just sit around, and that being the case, they're usually not very well maintained. So even though it's low mileage, it may have a lot of gunk on it due to infrequent oil changes, just sitting in the garage. So, you know, I'm hoping for the best, obviously, but if I have to rebuild the whole motor, I might just have to do that. Probably would have just been easier to move the camera, but if you ever have trouble removing hoses, get yourself one of these. Little hook tool. Just to break the seal. Careful not to puncture the hose though. These are a lifesaver. Pops right off. shoelace. Alright, so while we let that degreaser sit for a while, maybe I'll just tell you guys a little bit about myself. My name is Anthony. I'm 24 years old, and I've been into cars ever since the start of freshman year, probably, of high school. My dad has always been a car guy. He's a big Honda guy. He's the one who got me into cars, so you can thank him for that. The first car that I remember him having was his 1997 Integra Type R, championship white, of course. He actually got that car off of my uncle as part of a trade deal because my uncle wanted to buy a house that my parents owned, but he didn't have enough money to pay for it in all cash. So he included the Integra Type R as part of the trade deal, and that's how my dad ended up with it. So my dad's the second owner right after my uncle. I'll throw up some pictures if I can find some. It's pretty nice right now. It's currently undergoing a stroker B18 build. So that'll be pretty rowdy. Hopefully I'll have some videos about that soon. But yeah, that's the first car that I remember being into. He used to daily drive that thing actually. He's got a lot of miles on it. Probably around 90,000 miles right now. And if you guys know about Integra Type Rs, you might know that recently one with low mileage sold for $151,000. So that's pretty freaking awesome. I keep telling my dad to trade it for an NSX, but he loves the car too much. So yeah, that's how I first got into cars. And ever since then, I've pretty much been a Honda kid my whole life, obviously, because I was born and raised one. So my first car though was actually a 240Z, a 1971 240Z, which was a Series 1, which is one of the more desirable generations. I had that car in high school. What was it? Was it sophomore year of high school? Yeah, sophomore year, because I was 15 and a half, 16 years old. And that was my first car, and that's a pretty shitty car to have as a 16-year-old. Because honestly, you just want something reliable and safe, and that car was neither one of those things. I'll also throw a picture of that car if I can find one. That was so long ago. The brake booster was like terrible. You had to really step on it to get the car to brake at all. It had drum brakes on all four corners. I drove that thing to school every day of my sophomore year, even in freezing conditions. You know, I had to start up in the morning, get up extra early just to pull the choker, get that idle up, let it warm up for like 10 minutes before I could even drive it without it stalling out on me. And that was terrible. It was such a cool car to have. Like, everyone would always break their necks looking at it. And actually, one time I got pulled over in the 240Z because I was about to make a left turn. It was a yielding left turn, so you have to wait for traffic to pass before you could turn, right? And I was looking at the other side of the intersection, and there's a police officer there. He was the police officer from the high school that I went to, Marie Carrillo. And so I was paying attention to the officer. I wasn't paying attention to crossing traffic. So I turned across traffic and almost got hit by a car in the 240Z. And the officer pulls me over, and I was like, "Hey, officer." I honestly didn't see that car coming. I was paying attention to you. I was scared of getting pulled over. And that's exactly what happened. So he actually gave me a warning because he told me that his first car was also a 240Z. So he let me off just because he was a fellow car guy, which was pretty sweet. And the car I owned after that, I sold... Wait, let me back up a little bit. The 240Z I got rid of because I T-boned a pickup truck that was turning across traffic, which is pretty funny because that's what I got pulled over for. And that was the first time I ever got pulled over. So this pickup truck was turning across traffic. I couldn't brake in time. I T-boned them. And yeah, so that's how I lost that car. My next car was a 1991, or no, it was a 1989 CRX SI. I'm pretty sure I have pictures of this car too. This car was pretty important to me because it was my first Honda. It had a B18 C5 swap in it, so the Type R motor from the USDM Integra Type R. And that thing was a rocket. With the Y6 transmission, I think that's what it's called. It was the cable trans, B16 cable trans. So the gear ratios were really short. You could do like 80 miles per hour and it'd be at like 5,000 fucking RPM. So that thing was a fucking rocket. And I would race people all the time in that car. And it was honestly a shitbox on the outside, but it was so much fun to drive and I really enjoyed that car. And that's probably the car that I missed the most that I got rid of. This was way back in the day also. I had the car in high school still. Yeah, it had to be in my junior year of high school or something like that. Yeah, so I had that car for a while. I ended up selling it for $2,000 because it had a ignition problem. It wouldn't start up sometimes, intermittent, no start, no crank, nothing. So this was back in the day before Hondas got so expensive. You can't find a CRX even bone stock for less than like what, $6,000 or whatever, $8,000. So sold it for $2,000 with the Type R swap. Yeah, so after that, I was carless for a while. I drove my parents' Honda Odyssey around, which was stupid. It was embarrassing. After owning a couple cool cars, it was really disheartening to be getting into a minivan every day, you know? But that's what I had to work with. I had no money at the time. And then my senior year of high school, my dad supercharged his Integra Type R. And he actually let me daily that thing to school as a high school senior for 3 months straight. So I daily drove a 1997 supercharged Integra Type R to high school every day, making, I think it was 233 wheel horsepower and like 170 something foot-pounds of torque. That thing was a monster. I would race like STIs, stage 2 STIs, and I'd gap them. Yeah, that car was amazing. I don't know why he let me daily for that long. I think it was because he didn't want the headache of driving it around all the time. It was kind of a weekend car for him, so I think he enjoyed driving the van more because it was more comfortable. So I got to drive the Type R for a while. And then when I got out of college, or I got out of high school, when I graduated, my parents bought me a 2001 S2000. It was pretty much bone stock. I got it for, I believe, $9,700, which is really freaking cheap now that I think about it. I think it was $9,000 something dollars. I think it started out at 11,000 and we talked it down to 9,700. I think that's the number that sticks in my head for some reason, but that car was a ride to drive. It only had 130,000 miles, which in today's time, it would be selling for, you know, a good like 15, 16,000 with prices nowadays. But yeah, we got it for 9,000 bucks, 9,700, and I hooned the shit out of that car. I drove that car hard. I don't think I have too many pictures of that car. I might have one or two, so I'll try to find it and throw it up here in the video. That car was a lot of fun to drive. I drove it everywhere. I drove it to Monterey Car Week, like 3 hours away. I drove it all over the place. And I used to power slide it all the time, but that was the bad thing about it. It was too much car for my first rear-wheel drive car, besides the 240Z. I didn't own the 240Z for too long, but this S2000, it was way too much car for a kid fresh out of high school who didn't know how to drive. My driving experience was like a little bit of autocross background. I used to do autocross with my dad. So I kind of knew how to drive, but not rear-wheel drive. I had never autocrossed a rear-wheel drive before, so I didn't know the limits of it. So I was driving that car for a while. I think I owned it a good year and a half, maybe 2 years. I crashed it one time, power sliding to show off to my friend who's in the passenger seat. Niccolo, if you're watching this, he's like, do it for the gram. So I might be able to find the video of it. He took a video of me power sliding and crashing into a Honda CR-V. And that was a pretty funny video looking back at it. It's embarrassing, but I think I'll throw it up here if I can find it. That's the first time crashing a car for me, besides the Super Bowl. That was really scary. But we got the car fixed up after that. And then I crashed it again, driving on some back roads at nighttime with some friends. So I crashed my S2000 up on Calistoga Road. We were driving pretty fast. My friends had gotten ahead of me, and there's this Audi between me and my friends. So I passed the Audi over the double yellow, and then I misjudged the corner ahead of that. So I oversteered and couldn't correct it because I was in too high of a gear, not enough power to correct it. Hit the wall, spun like 2 times. And that was really scary because if you're local and you know Calistoga Road, it's like some parts of the road are right next to a cliff. There's a drop off. So that was really scary, spinning a few times on that narrow road up on the mountain. That really made me rethink rear-wheel drives, so so after that, my parents were obviously pretty pissed with me. So I went back to driving a Honda Odyssey for a while. And then I finally saved up enough money to go for what was it? I think it was 2006. It was 2006 Subaru WRX STI. And I think what my parents were thinking at the time, they're like, oh, let's let them get this car because it's a lot safer. It's all-wheel drive, 4 doors. That car was a piece of shit. It had about 87,000 miles when we got it. We paid $10,000 for it, which is really, really cheap as well. So I had a lot of fun with that car. Obviously it's fun having a turbo, racing around, hearing that turbo noise, that blow off valve. I got the car straight piped at one point, which made it really loud, and that was fun. Had that Subi rumble. It was fun to drive. It was not fun to work on. The fuel pressure regulator failed like twice for some reason, and then the fuel lines kept blowing out. I have no idea why. Yeah, that's back when I didn't know anything about cars as well, so it's a pain in the ass to fix. I replaced the fuel pump once. I replaced the fuel pressure regulator a couple times. And if you know those cars, it's a pain in the ass to get to the fuel pressure regulator. You have to actually remove the intake manifold to even get to it because it's underneath the freaking intake manifold. So yeah, that was my, what number car are we on? Let's see, 240 CRX. I'm actually missing another car. I owned another CRX after my first CRX for about a week, and then I sold it because it was a piece of shit. So 240Z, CRX. What was after that? S2000? Yeah, S2000, because I didn't really own my dad's Type R. I just drove it around. S2000. After that was the STI. So that's 5 cars. The STI was my 5th car. So I had the STI for a while. I would say close to a year. Actually, I had a decent amount of time. And then I sold it for around the same amount that we bought it for. I think we sold it for like $10,500 or something like that. Maybe less actually. We might have sold it for $9,500 or some shit like that. But I got rid of that car because it was just having too many problems. It was leaving me stranded everywhere. I wanted to get rid of it before the head gasket blew up. I didn't do much to that car. It was pretty much stock the whole time. And after the STI, a 2001 Integra Type R, which was my dad's coworker's car. That car cost us $12,500, and that was a freaking steal. And this might be the car that I regret getting rid of the most, actually, because of how the market changed. So we got that car, I would say 2 or 3 years ago. So 2020, I'd say. We bought that car off my dad's coworker. It was smoking a lot. We think the piston rings were fried. So I drove around for a bit, and then I had the motor rebuilt by Hybrid Works. That was the first motor that I had put together. It was a 2001 Nighthawk Black Pearl Integra Type R, and that thing was a beauty, man. That thing was so clean. When I first got it, it was all stock. Just all stock. And if you know prices nowadays, I mean, I told you guys earlier about that Integra Type R selling for $151,000. This car wouldn't be worth that much, but I could have gotten 30 grand for it easily if I kept it stock and sold it for today's price, which is only 2 years after I bought it. So in 2 years, I could have made, what, 30,000 minus 12,500. So I can't do the math because I'm stupid, but you get the idea. That car, I did a lot of modifications to. At first, all I did was lower it. I put on some lowering springs, and I should have kept it that way. I should have just lowered it, left it alone, daily drove it for the rest of my life. But I was stupid, you know. I was 21 years old. I was, you know, into that whole hot boy scene. So I gutted the car. I put some red gram lights on it, you know, lowered it, put some coilovers on it, put a big wing on it from PCI, big splitter, big front splitter. And I actually tracked that car a couple times, Thunderhill. One time on Thunderhill East and one time on Thunderhill West. And it might be a story for another time, but it was my first track day ever, and both me and my friend Tom, who drives a Mustang, we signed up for the intermediate group for our first track day, which was pretty stupid because we should have gone with the novice group, but we got ahead of ourselves. We thought we'd keep up, and actually we were doing pretty good. We were doing pretty well. We were keeping up with everybody in our group. Actually passing most people. There were Porsches, there were like 997s, you know, 996s, Miatas, other Mustangs, other Integras. We were keeping up. We were passing everyone because we had a lot of experience, you know, in autocross and as well as, you know, video games, obviously. But yeah, we were doing good in the intermediate group. But I pushed myself too far. I actually went off track a total of 3 times. So I got black flagged 3 times, which means you're done for the day. So I didn't get black flagged for the 3rd time until my 2nd to last session. So my 4th session of the day. So I actually got a good amount of track time in before they kicked me off. Yeah, so I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that car. But yeah, I really beat it up as well, which is why I got rid of it. I traded it for another S2000, a 2001 S2000. This S2000 was actually a pretty well-known car. It was built by, originally I think, Our Crew Garage. They put a lot of parts on it. It used to be Spa Yellow, I think, and they repainted it Toyota Cement Gray Pearl or something like that. So I'll throw some pictures up of that car. It was really beautiful. I have plenty of pictures of that car. And I kind of turned that car into like a stancy street shark kind of car, because, you know, I don't know why I did that. I think I'm mature now though. I'm not gonna do that to my Civic. But yeah, that car, I ended up crashing it. Not my fault this time. There's a lady in Honda Fit that ran the red light, and the car in front of me slammed on the brakes, so I couldn't stop in time. I dove behind them. I guess it was my fault because I rear-ended them, but it really was the fault of the lady who ran the red light. So that's how that car ended up. And then I ended up straight trading that car for the car I have now, which is the 2007 Honda Civic Si. And speaking of that, I should probably show you guys the car. This is my 2007 Honda Civic Si. Gonna walk around. You see the previous owner had somebody paint the car. The front end conversion is OEM Acura CSX. You can tell it's a different color from the rest of the body though. I think this is a Viz carbon fiber hood. I got it for $150, so that was a steal. It's got the Brembos from TL Type S, and these are Volk Touring Evolution 4 Test, or I think some people call them the Volk T85s. They're mismatched because I was having a hard time finding a full set because they're kind of rare. Can't find these anymore. They're old wheel. I really like the look of it. Of course, got my Gojo peaker. So I have the stock FA5 spoiler on there, but I have it mounted just a little bit further back than the OEM location. The Password JDM spoiler on there. Just gives it that nice little aggressive touch. Let me show you guys the inside. Got my keys on me. Where are my keys? This is the interior. So the Momo bucket seat for the driver. It's got a push start, which doesn't actually work because it's not hooked up. JDM hazard, JDM block off plate with my quad lock phone mount. Hybrid Racing short shifter, Chasing J's titanium, shift knob, shift rod. Pop the hood. If you guys can hear me sniffling in this vid, it's because I'm recovering from the cold. Here's the engine bay right now. So the mods that the car has currently at the moment are Hassport motor mounts. It's got the JDM K24A, Hybrid Racing fuel rail, Hybrid Racing cold air intake, the Hybrid Racing bushings, you know, just basic stuff. I don't know if you can see back there, but it's got the PLM race headers. The exhaust I'm running is in the NVIDIA Q300, and I do eventually want to, upgrade to the full race 3-inch exhaust, which is what everybody else runs to make power. But I'm having some trouble finding one of those for sale. And I don't want to buy brand new right now because I'm broke. But yeah, that's the car. Alright, so now that the Detergent's been sitting for a while. The degreaser. Let's get it cleaned up. Alright, this is take number 13 of my outro. I'm obviously not very experienced with the whole video thing. I still have a lot of research to do before I start tearing the motor down. I know this video wasn't very exciting for you guys, and hopefully future videos will be more exciting. I gotta do a lot more research. I gotta wait for some more tools to arrive. I gotta wait for more parts to arrive before I start tearing this thing down, and hopefully that'll be a more exciting video for the next one. So stay tuned. Might be a couple weeks, might be a month, who knows. I am working pretty much full time, and I'm going to school, taking a couple online classes, so don't know what the timeline for this build is going to be like. But if you want to follow along and eventually see an all motor build for my Civic Si, go ahead and subscribe down there somewhere. Leave a comment, let me know what I could do better, and like the video. Share if you want. Thanks. Peace.